Welcome back to Scinary Information Nexus, your podcast of CERN.
Damn, that come out of your ass?
Interesting way of wording that. Okay. We had a few drinks before we started.
I started with a little bit because you guys were talking it up on one of the earlier episodes of that wild turkey there.
That was a good shake. You had a good shake there.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It is Friday, December 23rd, 2026, and we are awaiting a major ice storm to come through the area. But by the time this goes live, one of two things will happen. We'll either be back or the infrastructure will be dead.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure how it's going to happen, but
And we may or may not have been trapped in this room for more than 36 hours together.
Please pay attention to these
beer
articles.
and whiskey to drink.
we're going to be bathing in whiskey and the blood of our enemies. You know.
I think I would try to climb down or something
Yeah.
before.
There's a tree out there.
I think we could. I think we could make it.
We've got a fun-filled episode ahead because we are going to talk about the thing that all the nerds are talking about: the cybersecurity related frameworks, NIST 800-53, CIS benchmark controls,
ISO 27001.
ISO 27001, FISMA, yeah, all that kind of good stuff. IRS Publication 75. Y'all didn't even know that one existed.
HIPAA.
I am, and I've heard. I have it on good authority that we actually have a COBIT expert on the podcast, right?
Absolutely.
Is that
Control objectives for IT.
That's what that stands for?
Yes. I've got the books if you want to dive into it.
You know,
How
what's
big
funny
are
is
those ones?
They're
pretty big.
I saw your auditing book. You literally, it's a library that they give you for one subject.
Yes.
And the thing is I'm pretty sure his COBIT control book is like 15 years out of date.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no
for
doubt.
sure.
There's no doubt. That's probably circa 2008.
Yeah. I mean, the probably different domains
If
and all
they're
kinds
getting
of
into
stuff.
your mainframe, you may want to.
You need to make sure you don't have attenuation on your copper connections.
Right.
Yeah. All that stuff.
Have you thought about switching from DSL?
It wasn't DSL back in the day, brother.
Telegrams.
Yeah, it was, it's 56K. Your baud rate was 56K. It was a fun time to be alive and try to get stuff done. But we are going to talk about that. But first, let's talk about what we are drinking. And again, it's another episode where we are scraping the bottom of the fridge. We are still I am on the quad fire. This is the first one that I've had, even though Thet brought it and said, this is yours.
Yeah, but you put it over here next to me.
Right.
Yep. And then he went through most of it.
Right. And so you've got the...
I got the Stash IPA, which also exploded on me like it's been doing on Brazos each
Yes.
week. So that may just be a feature of the bottle. So be prepared for that if you ever get any of these fun little IPAs. And I got a Star Hopped in reserve from an even earlier time.
You've broken the curse.
I know.
Uh-oh.
Now it's everyone you open.
You know why?
from-
Because Ashley brought that for me.
Yeah.
So it was meant for me. So you get the...
What is
you
this
get the
like
good bit.
wands? If you don't
Yes.
disarm him, it's not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. But is the Star Hopper, did we establish that's the official beer of SpaceX?
We said something about
Yeah.
Mars and
We made a joke about it. I don't know if it actually is. It does say official brewery of Mars, but I don't know if SpaceX is included in that.
Well, we'll just...
Thanks, Elon.
Yes. Thank you. Bring us more beer, buddy.
Not suitable for growing crops, so these systems will be required in order to produce enough food for any Mars colony to
All right.
survive.
All right. Well, very good. So with that out of the way, how is that Sneska?
let's see.
Because that's the one I'm curious about.
That's a beer, all right.
Yes, sir. That's fermented.
Is it a lager or a pilsner?
Lager.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a Czech lager. They don't know how to make lagers. They make
ever have-
pilsners.
You ever have like a Michelob Ultra,
Nope.
Coors Light,
Those are
Natural
communist.
Light,
Wait, can we
Absolutely not.
stop?
Oh, Natty Light, yeah.
Can we stop on Michelob?
Michelob, whatever the hell you want to call it.
I wanted to double check there.
You're talking about the
Yeah.
water in a can?
Yeah. That's what this is.
So it's it's like an early afternoon, not a morning.
Yeah. This is not very good.
Oh, okay.
Don't sponsor us.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. So,
Okay, the thing
you're not
compared.
gonna-
The other thing is, I have this expectation from the last time, which was that amazing, the fruited goss or whatever.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. That one was
Yeah.
excellent. Love
Yeah.
that.
Was that the one I
Stay
drank
home.
as well?
ET, yeah, is the
Yeah.
one
That one was great.
ET
Yeah.
Stay Home.
Yeah.
That one was amazing. So I'm coming off the high of that to
Right.
this is a little disappointing.
So
Really
when we-
good beer.
When
It's
we
lingered.
get to annual reviews for the employees, we're going to base it on like the type of beer they brought us and how
Yeah.
good it was.
100%.
Yeah, that gets high marks. Ashley, none.
Well, didn't she bring you the Radagast one?
Yeah. That was good. That was good. So she gets like half marks.
It evens out.
Yeah, it evens out. So let's get into our topic.
Speaking of marks,
Yeah. So let's get into our topic and start talking about cybersecurity related frameworks. Right. We deal with these on a daily basis. We deal with them with our clients, and if they're in local government, if they're K-12, if they're city government, if they're county government, if they're higher ed, they pretty much by and large all have to like rank themselves against any framework, some framework of some sort. In Texas, it's a version of the NIST 800-53 framework. In all other states, it's a version of the CIS benchmark controls, which is derived from NIST 800-53.
Yep.
So let's talk about the ridiculousness that is frameworks aside from NIST.
well, so in one thing, I think we should take just a little bit of time to kind of describe what those are. Like what is a kind of a framework in general when we're saying that. So like NIST 800-53, CIS, all those fun things that we mentioned before. If you're not familiar with what those are, it basically just a list of controls, policies, procedures for an organization to follow. Typically, whenever we're talking about cybersecurity frameworks for cybersecurity,
Right.
So
I think an easy analogy and way of viewing it is kind of like building a house, right? If you're going to build a house, you want to make sure you have all the appropriate materials. So you're probably going to want, some 2x4s and, some shingles for the roof and some windows and a door, right? But you also need to know where to put all those elements together and how far your spacing is between your beams. And so the framework is kind of the specifications. You can look at it as a blueprint for how the ideal situation would be, and then you mark yourself against what that ideal house is, right? So you may get the blueprint for the house and get it approved by the city planner or permit department or whatever have you, but whenever they start building, some of those things may be a little bit off from what it is, or you may decide to change this or that. Maybe that door doesn't quite work there because the sun rises over the hill and it's right in your eyes whenever you walk out the door every day. You don't want to put the door there anymore. You move it around the corner, right? So yeah, there's so many things you may change after looking at the framework and getting it approved, and being like, this is a good place to start, and then you make alterations based off what you need.
And to that kind of definition too, I like to just a template, right? They are a guide, a template to a ideal situation.
Yeah.
But templates, and this is some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, don't necessarily fit for every situation.
I think you're
It's
exactly
like-
I think you're exactly right. Let's start at the very beginning. Let's talk about NIST. So NIST stands for the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, right? They are the arm of the government that is responsible for how to measure a pound.
Right.
What is a
That's
second?
the reason they have like freeze-dried peanut butter.
Yeah, exactly. They got all these weird things, right? Because they are the measurement authority
Right.
for the United States, right? And they derive all of these rules around the. Do you not like it? It's just not going to go down.
No.
Oh, okay. I've got to clean. I'll take some of that. But so they are responsible for all the the standard measurements in in the United States. So, and there's a million NIST standards, right? The one that we're talking about is related, of course, standards and technology, right? So one of their things is technology, and so they have a million different NIST standards when it comes to technology. The one we're going to talk about is NIST 800-53. I think they're on revision 5 now, which adds another domain to the already complicated 5 domains that were there. But what it is meant to do is it is for lack of a better term, it's a maturity modeling process. So when they throw out, hey, answer kind of these, if you're doing X, Y, and Z, you're at this level of maturity. If you're doing 3 more things, you're at this level of maturity. So there's a ton of misconceptions out there that in order to pass a NIST framework, you have to be compliant on everything, and that's not what it's for.
No.
What it's for is and CIS is the same way. All these frameworks are the same way. What they are for is for you to measure your organization against what you're doing versus what the standard is, and then get that maturity, and then ask yourself, am I okay with where I'm at?
Does it make sense for my organization?
So
exactly.
So a prime example would be like it's we'll keep it to the same analogy. It's like having one blueprint for the entire neighborhood, and everyone has to go off of that. But you may have a single family home. You may have a single person wanting a home, or maybe you have a multifamily. Maybe there's multiple generations. Like, you're not going to build the same house for them as you do for the single guy, but they're operating off the same framework.
If we're using the standards for that, the question then becomes, what level of risk am I willing to accept if I don't put in this extra 2x4? Am I cool with that? Right. And I think that's where governments that impose this stuff on other, like local governments, I think that's where they miss the mark, and they miss it badly. Because what they do, and we see this in the state of Texas, we see it in Tennessee, that the state authorities who have way more resources than schools and cities and counties and higher ed, unless you're a state-funded higher ed, like one of the research institutions. But barring that, they say, okay, here is your framework. You need to gauge yourself. And the school's going like, what? What is this? Like, and they get kind of frozen because they don't want to answer wrong because they don't want it to impact their funding or whatever.
They feel like if I don't have a 5 on that, I'm going to be penalized.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of issues around that and this is with many things whenever it comes to state stuff, is the just the explanation around it. Like when the state gives those requirements, like for the longest time, and I'm going to be speaking from a Texan perspective and within K through 12, because they came out with, it's not SB 820, but it was SB 820 back in the day. That was in like 2019. I believe.
Yeah.
So like in 2019, whenever they came out with that, it was like vaguely hinted that there was at some point going to be ramifications for not completing it or not doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then still in 2026, like, are there? And what are the exact stipulations around it? And like, all we know is like, okay, well, you have to self-assess. You could technically answer no to everything as far as I'm aware. Like, you don't, there's a lot of like, there isn't a lot of communication or clear communication.
There's not a whole lot of education around it.
Yeah.
Well, and it feels almost like sometimes it is intentionally vague so that should they want to impose punishments later or requirements later, that I feel like they get it one way or the other. It's either they'll be able to punish those that they want to punish, or they'll have tricked everyone into going above and beyond what maybe they were willing to do, and then be able to impose like requirements for like cybersecurity insurance or something.
I don't want to go that far. Here's what I want to say. I think cybersecurity frameworks are good if they're taken in context with what they're meant to do.
Yes.
rolling them out, rolling the same, like happened in Texas, and it still is, rolling the framework out that state government uses, and I'm talking like comptroller's office, attorney general's office, like those guys, to 1A schools, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
That does not work at all.
Well, you start, and just to use like a school district that we know that's around this area that has like 35 staff members, like 115 students, and
their risk surface is way different.
Yeah, well, there's stuff in there that it's like doesn't even make sense to them. And I also remember, I feel like when they did that too, the state government in 2019, they kept changing it to, like, you remember it used to be the 46 objectives, and then they removed 2 objectives, and then it became like
it was the 40 objectives, and then they added 6, but the 6 they added were redundant to the object, because there was 2. I remember in the 6 they added, and this had to do with software development.
Yeah,
like there was 2 questions about software development that were exactly the same. We're like, what are you guys doing?
Also, how many schools, especially like 1A, 2A schools, are doing software development?
Right.
I remember when back then when we would do those, we get to the software development questions, and I'd be like, "You guys aren't doing software." Just answer them as no. Like,
and we're gonna skip that section.
Yeah.
And so it has always been a challenge, because we offer that to our clients. Like, if you want to go through a NIST framework with us, we will sit down and we will do that for you. But it has always been a challenge to get across, don't chase the score.
Right.
This is not what it's about.
Well, and that's one of the problems, and I think it's just the human nature that you don't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Like
don't want to get a bad score.
You don't want to get a bad score. You don't want the state or whatever entity may look at this to look at it and base their opinion of your procedures on an arbitrary number. The other thing too is oftentimes when you get that report, the people that are going to be asking for it is like the superintendent. Like, there's an expectation that
people
you have
who don't have that understanding of what this actually means or pertains to.
Playing devil's advocate a little bit here. Granted, there is no full barrier to entry for certain things. To be honest, if I was in that position and I knew that it possibly could be a barrier to entry, why wouldn't I try to fluff it up? Right? Maybe I don't want to get a 1. Maybe I want to get a 3 out of 5, right? To at least be
well, and that's the
average.
thing is if it's self-reported and they're worried, then how many of the numbers become fudged?
Well,
and then how does that end up affecting the information of a roadmap to better security? Right? Now all of a sudden everyone's assuming, oh, well, I'm secure because I answered, I got a 3.
We advise, when we go through this thing, especially if it's going to go to the board or the superintendent or some government entity, do not lie.
Yeah.
In fact, when in doubt, say you don't have something.
Yeah.
Because the moment you lie on that thing and you say you've got MFA on cloud stuff and you get breached, they're going to have that document.
Yep.
And they're going to come back and say, well, it says here, and this is a state document that you submitted to the state.
Which I think is maybe another reason why it does not work as well whenever it's coming from a state mandated place like that.
No, it doesn't work.
Because at the end of the day, these frameworks are made and designed for the organization to assess themselves and build a roadmap and get better.
Yeah.
But the second it becomes an official document, now I've put liability into it.
Well, but
I mean, even at the smallest bit, right? And we've had I think that conversation before about, do you look under the rock or do you not look under the rock?
Well, here's the thing, and again, Texas is not unique in this. We deal with a lot of states that have this similar type program, and there is no thought, or maybe there is thought that goes into it. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but it seems to me there's no thought in differentiating between local government and K-12, size of organization, composition of organization, risk surface, all those things need to go into developing a framework that can actually be useful. Now, I think we do a really good job when we get requests from clients to say, hey, can you walk me through this? I think we do a really good job of explaining exactly what this is for and for them, and tell them, do not get hung up on the score or where you're at, and go do this bunch of research about, are we actually doing this thing? Because 9 times out of 10, if you don't know, you're not doing it anyway.
Well,
And I definitely was not advocating the lie. Let me disclaimer that right now. I will not be your excuse, and I will not bail you out of jail.
Allegedly.
But my thought was kind of putting myself in that seat. Right, I can see why people would do it, because
So,
that's the rationale.
That's the ignorance factor, right? That is the ignorance factor. They don't because we only have 300 K-12 in the United States, and what is there? This is like 15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, we manage close to 280, 300 different K through 12 entities, and there's, I think, roughly now public.
Yeah,
there's
right,
like 14,000 K through 12 public entities.
Right, but
So-
my point on that is we have a very small footprint, so the message that we can send out to help correct some of the ignorance that's out there is very small.
Yeah.
Right, it's very small. It's incumbent upon the people that are requiring this crap to be filled out to explain to you exactly why I need to document my controls around data loss prevention.
Or God forbid, go through the work of taking a look at NIST and then taking a look at who you want to put the requirement on, and then doing the work to help build out different framework models for like your
So-
1As,
Yes.
your
Yeah.
5As,
Yeah.
And
your government entity.
The thing that's crazy to me is that, especially for the states that have kind of taken the CIS benchmark controls, is CIS attempted to do that.
Yeah.
Like, so they have implementation groups, and so each implementation group is supposed to be a representation of somebody that's further along, like that maturity model.
Yeah.
So I forget the exact implementation groups, but there's like one that's like basically anybody can do this. It's like implementation group 0. You don't need any funding. You don't need, like, you can basically do this with one person and
Right.
some pen and paper. Then you've got like implementation group 1, which is like somewhat of a established, processes, procedures. You've got some money, and then you've got like enterprise, or like mid-size, and then like enterprise.
Right.
So you've got multiple implementation groups, and then the controls are broken down into those different implementation groups, so that if you believe that your organization is a part of implementation group 0, well, then focus on these controls, implementation group 1, etc. The problem is that doesn't get translated when the states take that. They just take the bookmark or the benchmark controls and just say, here you go. And then NIST doesn't have that.
Right.
So NIST is just a flat framework. And oftentimes that's kind of what gets defaulted to is NIST. And I mean,
Right.
CIS is just a derivative of NIST. So.
Yeah. So, the NIST model is based off, at least the maturity model is 0 to 5, 0 being
Yeah.
non-existent, 5 being Department of Defense level stuff.
Right.
Right. And when we go in, I always tell folks,
There was that whole thing, I think, 2 years ago, where it came out that a lot of like the federal agencies were getting their stuff just like rubber stamped. And they weren't actually-
Yeah. I mean, because
if they actually went through the assessment, they'd be more like that.
Because
Yeah.
there-
Department of Defense sponsor us.
there
I want a
is
missile.
there are some geek boffins in the bowels of state entities that are saying, hey, this is the framework produced by NIST, so this is what you need to follow, without regard to risk appetite, risk surface, all that kind of stuff.
I think sometimes it is more simple than that. I think the legislature looks at it and goes, man, there's been such a rise in ransomware attacks,
Yeah.
and they've been hitting schools. And at the end of the day, we have to do something about that because our constituents are worried about it.
Yeah.
And they go, well, how do you protect cybersecurity? Oh, NIST has a framework. Let's just put that on them.
Yeah.
There's
And at that point,
it's as simple as that.
you could probably say, well, we gave them the controls that they were supposed to be following. They weren't following our supposed controls.
Yep.
Without the actual understanding that the controls that they're putting in place or saying they should put in place require so much money, time, and effort to do that it does not make sense.
So you know me, I'm not necessarily a huge not fan of government, but there are definitely some things that I would look at and change and whatever have you.
You anarchist.
But at the end of the day, whenever it comes to technology specifically, and especially anything to do with the internet or the cybersecurity world, right? it is the number one place that I think that we have the least expertise within our government and our legislature and our frameworks. And it is what governs everything. So it's basically the Wild West out there because no one who could legislate it knows anything about how to do so. And it's such a lack of expertise at the top.
I
that
agree.
It makes it very hard for any of these things to actually hold on and be useful. Or
because
effective.
again, we get back to the point that a lot of the reason why legislation comes to the forefront.
Okay, you can't blame
really-
that one on me.
no!
You can't blame that on me.
And I was going to make a comment earlier about how, look, I opened it and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a curse. Did you curse me?
Maybe I don't
Better
know.
you than me.
Yeah. So the reason why legislation comes to the forefront a lot of times is because somebody's paying for it. Right?
Sure.
There's a lobby. Somebody's going to benefit from it.
And that's what I was going to bring up with that is that so legislation. And this is the thing, and I get that there are probably people that are in government that are just out for themselves, right? Like that. I mean, and that's with anything. But I do think that there are people in legislation that are trying to do the right thing. They have good intentions. The problem is that they don't, like, if let's say you're a public servant, you get into legislation through, whatever means, but you had a background in business administration or something, and you have this one thing that you're dealing with, and then all of a sudden you're getting slammed with like IT related things.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about it.
Right.
That's not really what you're supposed to do, but you're supposed to have people around you that do.
Right.
The problem is exactly that, is that the people around them are often the lobbyists and the people that have some sort of ulterior motive around it. And I think that's where you get some of this, is because you can spin it in a way that it's a really good intention. Like, hey guys, if we put this cybersecurity framework out there for everybody to follow, these are some really good standards, we'll reduce the ransomware risk, all these fun, lovely things. But then the ulterior motive is like, these are extremely complicated. We're going to need somebody to come in with software to be able to do all this. And then
Next thing you know, there's
you have
like
a market.
full government contract for, I don't know, some kind of like free EDR or something like that.
Yeah.
That just
That
comes
would,
down
Joe,
the
that
line.
would never happen.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry. I didn't mean to misspeak.
Hey, so speaking of those that have their hands in government officials' pockets, did y'all notice that I've been watching a lot of the F1 stuff that's coming up lately, and CrowdStrike is not on any of the cars that I've seen so far,
I mean,
like their sponsorship.
I see they wised up to not paying millions of dollars to have a stamp on a car.
No, I think they missed out. Now there's a space for us.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I did hear, however, they are maybe going to get away with not having to pay anything for the debacle last year.
Well, that's probably true.
They just wrote it off.
That's
It's tax
crazy.
write-off.
It was the intern's fault.
Yeah, easy.
But Joe,
Back to frameworks.
well, I'm gonna lean into Joe's. It is, I guess it is a conspiracy theory.
It's me. It's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So the whole EDR company that shall not be named, their like former co-founder was on the like Biden's Council for Cybersecurity before the whole like whole of state initiatives and everything came out.
Weird.
And it's like
Freaking liberal Democrats.
And whenever you look at all the people
was
that were on that
God's
council,
country.
it's like legislator, one industry partner.
It's okay.
And then guess who the other industry partner is? The other whole of state ADR provider.
Yeah.
It's okay
like-
because now 4 of our chief level C-suite officers of the tech overlords of industry are now 1-star generals.
Man, I don't. We've gone far afield here.
All right. Thank you for joining us for
yeah.
Scinary Tangent. Let's get back to Scinary Sin.
I think last week you said every time there's a tangent, we got to drink.
Yeah. Again, I think we would.
Did you just now turn on the lights?
Yeah, I forgot about them.
Oh, I thought they turned. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess
It's on brand though.
Yeah, it's that. I think that makes sense whenever we start talking about conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
The lights come on. But to go back to the framework thing, one of the things I did want to mention on the whole subject of them, like people not understanding, they're kind of a market being built around those types of things because they're so complicated. One of the things that I really don't like, and what I spend whenever I'm doing these framework calls, what I spend probably my most time on is taking the like ambiguous language that they use and putting it in terms that people can actually understand. And this is the thing that it's like, they don't have to do that because I'm translating it. You could change it to the language that people actually understand and could actually make use out of.
There's only one of two realities that can exist at that point. Either number one, it could have been said simpler, or number two, it needs to be more points.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, that's
so,
it.
And well, so if you look from the top down, to what level of specificity can you make it before you end up overhauling it to be in breakout categories, right? Which it
is
seems
what
like
they
they're trying to avoid. They're avoiding
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
They should be doing that because obviously specificity would really help clear up that ignorance.
Yeah.
But they're very clearly trying to make a blanket template, right?
That's again, that comes back to the main problem is that you have organizations with different risk appetites, even in the same industry, even in the same neighborhood. Risk appetites are much different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like any sort of like investing thing. But even the risk appetite, like most schools, like whenever you're talking about they're not really going to understand that concept. The thing that they're going to look at is by the 40th question that asks about documentation on some obscure process, they're going to be like, I'm one guy and I'm a gym teacher.
Yeah.
Like how the hell am I going to actually be able to document all this
So
crap?
that's the other thing. So we're right now we're dealing with our higher ed clients who are getting audited by the state and the company that's now doing that. And they're telling the clients that we're going to audit you and it's going to take 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And here's an SFTP upload link. Here is 4 pages of crap that you need to upload to us.
Mm-hmm.
Policy, procedure, logs, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and they're just going to pipe all that stuff through AI.
No, and so
That's a whole. Every
hold
single
on.
episode has an AI segment.
Hold on. They may, and if they do, I welcome that because I've been on the other side of this process. I've been an IT auditor, right? I've had to look through all of that documentation, and what always stood out to me is, as an IT auditor, I don't know shit when it comes to IT, like operationally, right? I know concepts and I know what you should have from an audit perspective, but I don't know, like you send me policies and stuff and I ask for logs and stuff. Guess what I'm going to do if I don't understand something? I'm going to send a list of questions back to you asking for further documentation. And that's an endless cycle that takes so much time. And God bless the IT directors and the CTOs that are out there in higher ed that have to deal with this, because you know that if they could get those dudes in a room, they would strangle them with the papers that they requested. You know, and we engage with our clients to help them through that process, mainly because when the auditors are asking for stuff, I understand what the auditor is asking for, so I can preempt that follow-up question or follow-up questions about, okay, this is what they're asking because that's what their template asks them to say, but here's what they're actually looking for. This is evidence of the control that you need to provide them.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many phone calls I've been on with IT directors and auditors where I've had to defend the IT director from an audit standpoint and tell the auditor, look, he gave you what you asked for. And it proves that he has that control in place. And it's because the IT auditor doesn't have enough of a background to understand what they're looking at.
Oh, what was it? There was an incident response one, but it was fell underneath that category where the auditor or the incident response
and before redacted.
Yeah. To where they were saying something like, what was it? that Hyper-V, is that what kind of machine was that?
Yeah.
And we were
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
it's Windows because it's always Windows. And it's like, so you have no frame of reference for this, do you?
Explain your VM environment. It's Hyper-V. Are those Windows machines?
I'm pretty sure that was
I think they are.
actually, if I remember correctly, that was the exact same IR where we worked, and they kept trying to force like rebuilding
Yeah.
the VMware environment or the Hyper-V environment, and we're like, guys, they had like one server on that. Like, we're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
gonna put it in Intra and be done with it.
Yeah,
Like,
we're doing something completely different now. That doesn't matter.
And then they kept circling back around to it. It was like, so the Hyper-V environment, are we rebuilding? Like, no.
So the guys we deal with when we do incident response on the insurance side, those are the same dudes that are asking for all this crap when they do an audit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are the same.
Yep.
It's the same type of folks.
How do we
so-
know it's not a bot?
Here's the thing. I call that,
He was on video and everything.
and maybe I should change the name to Auditor Brain, but I always called it Tech Support Brain, which is that you've got a list, and it's just go down the list, and if something, it's like if it doesn't match that list, the process flow is like back up to previous question,
Right.
Like,
Okay, so we start back up here, and can I get there now?
yeah. And it's like you cannot go off the list. Like, and you can tell, like I've talked to people, and again, the reason I call it Tech Support Brain is it's normally the tier 1 tech support
Yeah.
guys out there that, and not some of those people are great, and gosh, the stuff they have to deal with, but you get some of them that it's like, it feels like an infinite loop, and it's like, come on, how do we break the loop?
Well,
I remember being able to tell that guy was getting like, he wasn't getting frustrated, but he was so lost in the sauce. Like,
yes.
he kept on going back to the familiar place, and we're like, dude, we've done this. I'm sorry. We have answered that question.
Yeah.
well, kind of going back to what you were saying, Brazos, a bit ago. I'm not sure, because earlier I was saying, they could make this a barrier to entry, but that doesn't make sense for the purpose of what it serves. I was really comparing it to a doctor's visit. They give you a questionnaire,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to answer appropriately, right? Are you
Yeah.
allergic to penicillin?
Yep.
If you lie and they give you penicillin, you die.
Do you smoke? Do you drink?
Right.
Cocaine?
And that
We just need to know.
I've
We're
never
not-
seen that question.
we're not judging. We just need to know.
You just got to remember your insurance also wants to know.
Yeah.
but and this is what I was comparing it to, because obviously when it's your health, you want to be honest. You want to make sure you're receiving
Yes.
the care, because if something's wrong, you want to tend to it, right? So I couldn't imagine what like punishment or what barrier to entry could they impose, because if you get a low score for funding, shouldn't they focus on you and get you funding?
So I want to be clear. I've never seen a school, higher ed, like hit funding wise because they
Yeah.
had a low score
Yeah.
on these
Well,
things.
and that
Well, but I've
that
also
was
never seen them receive extra funding for a low score.
well, and I,
There we go. There we go. Thank
You've
you,
never seen
Joe.
the
I was
Department-
mid-sip.
the
Thank
Department
you.
of Education going, shit,
Which
They need
is
more.
what I was saying. It's like
get those cats
that's
some money.
That's probably why it has not too much bearing
Yeah.
in the like recovery or build stage.
yeah. and-
Well, and so and I'm sorry, Brazos, and I'll let, but I want to hammer this point home. A lot of times it's because that the state wants some documentation to say, you got popped. It's because when you answered this, you answered truthfully. We're going to beat you over the head with the answers that you gave us because those aren't NIST standards, right? You should be doing X, Y, and Z, right? You should have backups of backups. You should have,
So the state no longer has culpability for where they're at.
Yes. Please continue.
I was just gonna say that it went back to my point that earlier when you're saying that they don't get funding has never been removed. It's kind of that vague. Are there ramifications for a score? Like, it's never been defined. I haven't seen a state that has any ramifications, but it's like
The only thing I've ever seen that like gave me pause is like in higher ed in Texas when you've got, because the higher ed in Texas has to upload that to Archer. And I think they have to sign the under penalty of like this is a state document. Do not lie on it.
Well, and that's something I try to remember every day, and I try to remind our analysts whenever they're talking, especially to our tech directors, and especially in incident response, is this is a frustrating day for us. It is the worst day for them.
Oh, yeah.
Because out of this entire conversation, every single aspect of this, there's only one person at the end of the day who, if it goes
who's got
bad,
to answer for it.
Who, if it goes bad, gets shafted.
Yeah.
And that's the tech director. Because all this framework and everything coming down from the top is so the people at the top don't get blamed for it. It's on the organization. And the organization is going to say, well, who's in charge of that? Oh, is the tech director. So it all just meets in the middle and slams them.
That is terrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
Oh,
It's not good. I'm glad you finally.
You know what? Give me a sip.
Hey,
Go ahead and give me a sip.
You want to curse?
It's like it's got a weird.
You're right. I don't want to touch it. Yeah, never
It's
mind. I
got
don't
like a
want to curse.
weird sour note at the end.
Yeah,
Like it's not good. Like, but anyway, back to the actual topic at large. One of the things, and to that exact thing, is that if you are a person that's going through this, that this is why some of the documentation is good. Like if you know that like, hey, I don't have these controls in place, and it's not due to the lack of trying. It's like I am missing core funding or core resources to complete this thing.
Yeah.
And you take this and you show it. Document that. Like document the fact that you have given this to all the right people to try to give you funding.
The board, the superintendent.
So that when something does happen, this is where you can reverse that
Yes.
whole effect.
Yes.
Where it's like, I've got this documented. I have shown it to everybody. I have outlined what we
What's
need to
more-
do. Can I get some funding? And when they turn you down and you document that, it's like, hey, and I mean, I can't tell you that that's going to prevent you from having a really
Right.
bad day.
Right.
But at least it gives you some peace of mind saying, no, I told them. I had everything outlined. I just did not get what I
Now-
needed to do or needed to fix these
yeah,
issues.
and it what Brazos says is absolutely true, and I want to hammer this home. One of the things that you can do with that framework that's extremely useful is if you answer it truthfully, and you know your score, like in the NIST score, it's between 0 and 5. Our typical score for first time is like 1.5.
1.5 to 1.8.
Yeah. In there, you show that to the board at the next board meeting. Say, hey, we just went through a maturity modeling. This is the score out of 5. This is where I think that I could use some help getting this score up, because we are missing some critical things like MFA or whatever it is. We are missing some critical things because at the end of the day, it's not the IT director's risk to accept. Greg Babbitt knows this better than any IT director. It's not his risk to accept. He is there to provide a function based on what is allowed for him, like
provided.
Yeah, provided to him. And if he goes and says, look, this is where we're falling short from a cybersecurity standpoint, I need more money to implement this thing. Here are 3 quotes, whatever it is. And they say no at that point, that's not on him anymore.
It's almost like you got to go the malicious compliance side. Not only am I going to answer yes or truthfully on these things, but once I get that framework number down and can build a roadmap, I need to put it in requests. I need to make sure that there's as much of a paper trail as possible of me saying, this is where we're at. This is where we need to be. This is what I need. Money. Please.
Yes.
Money, please.
Yes.
And at that point it is.
I mean, even at that, look, I'll put it out for bid, whatever we got to do.
I will say that, especially with some of the frameworks too, is sometimes it's not even just about money. There are plenty of things in that framework that just need the authority to enforce something.
yes.
And it's the same thing where it's
Password
like
policy.
password policy. It could
MFA.
like turning it on and enforcing it. There are plenty.
How many conversations do we have with IT directors when we say, like, we work an incident in the cloud, Google, O365.
Yeah, that's been a hard conversation.
Man, what you need to do is go ahead and turn on and enforce MFA for all your users.
I can do it for everyone, but the admins, the superintendent says he doesn't want it turned on.
Yes, it's going to make everybody's life
All
harder.
right.
It's like,
Yeah,
Okay.
and
It's so small things, I think, right? Kind of to your point. I don't even think about it like malicious compliance,
Yeah.
even though you definitely could use it that way. I just think about kind of the small things that impact the big picture.
Yeah.
Why not take the few minutes, hopefully few minutes, right? Or hours to document what you need to. You're right. Hopefully you'd never have to use it, but wouldn't it be so nice to have it when you have to use it?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I just think it's those small steps that truly make an impact. Because look, I'm a lazy guy myself, right? I'm sure you
Is
know.
that right?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
That'll come
not
up
for
at
work.
your next.
Not for work. Let me disclaimer that. Drink some more of that. Drink some more of that.
He's a hard worker.
Okay. All right.
Well, what was the thing I was saying earlier? I'm like, I'm a lazy guy, but what's the phrase? It's like laziness is the mother of innovation
Yeah,
or something like that.
All right, that's actually true.
So, but why not take the small steps? And I actually showed in my daily work, I'm like, this is so dumb, but I know I'm going to need it. So I'm going to take the time to do it.
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 times, I needed that exact piece and it
Yeah.
saved my ass.
Yeah, it's he learned early with I believe what the SOC has affectionately started calling Richard proofing.
Yes.
Yes.
And
sir.
so he does a lot of front work for you to walk in the door and go, "What is this about?" It's right here, Richard.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you, sir.
Well, but so that comes from my years of being an IT auditor and asking for that stuff, because I still have the important parts like embedded in my mind is that, okay, we do need a paper trail on something, right? On some stuff, but it's got to be based on risk. Like, I'm not going to ask you for a paper trail on who is an hour and 5 minutes at lunch. Like, that doesn't do me any good.
Right.
There's very little risk associated with that. But for the major risk items, yeah, we document stuff, which segues into how I want to end the show is, how do we fix this? What is the fix? And
Money.
no. I believe these frameworks could be fixed with no more than 10 controls. If you implement like 10 controls, I think you would solve 95% of most of your risk that is out there. And the rest of the 180 questions can go to hell.
well, you know what? We should do that. We should develop the Scinary's 10 critical controls.
Yeah.
And then everything else is your frameworks beyond that.
The
Like,
problem is now we've
Scinary.
set the expectation. It's on the podcast.
Well, so I'm gonna go ahead and further the expectation. It should be according to size
yeah.
of entity, right? So
Sinary's commandments.
Well, I think you could get, almost like a tree effect of, you have the 10 critical controls.
Yeah.
Which we know controls can be as simple as you need something to control this thing.
yeah,
Right. Well, that's not defining what it is. It's not going to define exactly how it works for your organization. Not going to define who's going to do it.
So
right?
you've got a risk, and we see this a lot. It's not a cybersecurity and it's not an IT thing, but you've got a risk that a finance person is going to click on a link where somebody had filled out a direct deposit thing that changed their account. Hey, can you change this account for me? Because that person had their account hacked, and they do it. Right. The control on that is don't do it electronically. Have them come in and request it and show ID. Right. That's a simple control. Doesn't cost anybody any money.
Yep.
Right.
Critical documentation must be changed in person. Right.
Yeah.
Or at least having some control on critical documentation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Something. Right.
Agreed.
Whether it's be as advanced as making sure that only people with like we do with multi-factor, where it's like your device and the person and location, and then you also have the fact that if they do it, it goes through a separate channel, and then you have data loss prevention on the entire network and cloud infrastructure. Like, if you want to get really advanced, you could do all of that.
But again, I think it needs to be based on size and risk, service and risk appetite.
My point is, both of those are the same control.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I think one of the problems, which you see it in anything government, large organizations, large businesses, is that, and I think is one of the problems with the frameworks, is that basically as you continue to get bigger, you introduce more bureaucracy into everything. It's like a natural
more
thing
risk.
that happens. More risk means more processes to address that risk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you combat that from a business perspective, right? is that you look at that and you don't try to build rules for every single thing that pops up.
Right.
Exactly.
You build rules for the most common things,
Yes.
and then there's exceptions for when something crops up. So I'm just to take that exact example of like critical documents, because I can explain this where it's like, well, because I can already hear it. Well, what happens if I've got an employee that works in Canada, for example, and I'm based in Georgia? I know if one person's listening, I bet they know exactly who I'm talking about.
Shout out.
It's
Sponsor
like,
us.
hey, well, if they need to change payroll, there's no way that I'm going to get them to fly down from Alberta to change my documents. Well, so you've got a problem there. You can't accommodate that. Like you've got to come up with an exception. But the thing is that you, with that one exception, you should not create a whole rule for one exception. That should be exactly that.
There should be an exception
There
process.
should be an exception process for it. Everything else falls under the rule.
Yes.
And this is the problem with those frameworks, is that they're trying to address every single thing.
Right.
And it may not work, or it doesn't work most of the time.
Well,
So
which I was only half joking when I said money, because if nothing changes, and granted there's infinite money, I bet everything could be a 5.
I mean, yeah, if
That's
there was
the problem.
infinite money and
that's,
infinite
that's the problem.
that's the problem with risk in government, and this is local government, state government, federal government. There's no incentive to accept risk. There is no incentive because they don't get a higher payout. There's not an interest rate that they're getting from it. It's their whole risk is front page.
Yeah.
That's it's reputational exposure.
Yeah.
So that's why the bureaucracy is as big as it is, because of the risk profile and those processes. Because somebody said, well, what about this one, extra use case?
They have to address every single little thing.
It may not ever come up, but let's put a process in place. I remember one time where and we've all heard the stories about the Department of Defense spending $7,000 on coffee makers, right? It's because of risk analysis.
Right,
on those things.
Can't buy a Chinese coffee maker.
Back in the 90s, I read an article where the United States Department of Defense was buying ashtrays for $400 a piece, because, and I swear to God, this was the risk profile. If you dropped it, it could only break into 4 pieces. So the research and development that went into a freaking ashtray.
So, but my thing is, how does that fit into the golden toilets? I've been wondering for forever about that. Like, someone had to justify the golden toilets.
There's a framework for golden toilets.
Like is Chinese pipes, are those just not allowed?
I have no idea where you're going with this.
I'm so
I'm
confused.
lost.
It's an old. I think it's a joke. I don't think it's real at all. They did spend an exorbitant amount on toilets in one of the Pentagon upgrades.
There's
or whatever,
no doubt.
But so people joked that they were golden toilets.
Okay.
And so I don't think that part's real at all.
Well, we need golden servers.
But it is one of those things to where it's like, how do you fuck up a toilet? What possible risk profile is it? Is it that there's no possible seal effects so that nothing gets sucked down? Like, what's happening?
No. Look. Those toilets. They have to. All those documents that they've been flushing.
I mean, we all know gold has
these
ultimate, ultimate, connectivity. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
It helps with Wi-Fi effectiveness.
Yes.
So as you're reading while you're on the toilet, it's because the generals can't be left away from any of that communication. Not only that, but they're the exact height off the ground in order to produce hemorrhoids.
I'm not going to ask where you got that statistic. I am okay.
This
never
podcast
thinking about
has
that
gone
again.
off the rails.
And I'm out of drink, so we got to.
Yeah, you know what? I think that is a good place to end it, because we are 55 minutes into it, a little short, but we will end it there before you go into I don't know, platinum outhouses
Bidets.
or whatever.
Why did that jump into my head immediately?
So, thank you guys for listening, and we're sorry, but join us next week when we talk about something else. See you soon.